Hey YouTube, Kiritwi here, bringing you all my Ice Princess Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for July 2021. This is actually the manga deck that Alexis Road used in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX manga. A really different take from the Cyber Angels she was used to in the anime, and both the Arc 5 and GX anime. But with the release of King's Court, we were given some new support to support Blizzard Princess, specifically I would say, being one of the cards that Alexis used in the manga to summon out this card, and just overall good support for the ice counter deck as a whole. So I figured I'd take a crack at what is meant to be truly just a fun deck. I wouldn't really say there's much competitiveness to this deck. It's all fun down to the core of summoning out and using the different ice counters for a bunch of different special summons in the deck as a whole. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the main go-to boss monster of the deck, we are running 3 Blizzard Princess. You can tribute summon this card in face-up attack position by tributing 1 Spellcaster type monster. And during the turn this card is normal summon, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards. So you have a monster that can basically freeze your opponent out of activating a good majority of the different cards they may have on the field, giving you total access to a bunch of other different plays you can do, and focusing on the ice counters to either destroy or remove some other cards your opponent may have on the field, with the big focus being on the other cards that, work along with Blizzard Princess. I know she herself doesn't actually do anything with the ice counters, but this is the main point of the deck, to lock down your opponent out of their spell and traps, while also being able to make use of those ice counters. For summoning out Blizzard Princess onto the field, 3 of the new card, which is Crystal Girl. If this card is normal or special summon, you can activate this effect during the end phase of this turn. Add 1 level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to your hand. And then if you control a level 5 or higher water monster, and this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect of Crystal Girl once per turn. So with some of your other higher level monsters on the field, you can basically set up Crystal Girl to special summon onto the field, and then be the tribute needed for your Blizzard Princess. Because once again, you can tribute this card with 1 Spellcaster type monster, and not only can Crystal Girl search out your main go-to boss monster in the deck, but also provide the tribute needed for summoning it out onto the field. So 3 of it's definitely needed. Being a 1-for-1 target makes it all the better also, because it just has to be when it's normal or special summon, then you can activate and resolve the search power for this card. For some more of the actual ice counter support that we run in the deck, I also run 3 Cold Enchanter, a level 4 aqua monster. You can discard 1 card to target 1 face-up monster on the field and place ice counters on that target. So this card also gains 300 attack for each ice counter. So depending on how many ice counters you have, this card can definitely be a pretty strong powerhouse to rely on against monsters that your opponent may have. Being a level 4 water monster also makes it a card to use to summon some powerful Xyz monsters from our extra deck onto the field. Also, for more of the setup with some of our ice counters, I also run 3 Ice Master. You can special summon this card from your hand by tributing 2 water monsters, and once per turn you can target 1 face-up monster on the field, place an ice counter on that target. You can tribute this card to destroy all monsters with ice counters. So with the buildup of different ice counters on your opponent's monsters, you can easily set them up with cards like Cold Enchanter, and then destroy them with cards like Ice Master. And needing just water monsters, you can also use Crystal Girl as just a summon on the field to provide the tribute for the special summoning out Ice Master onto the field. Having not as much strength, I would say, as Blizzard Princess, but still another monster that you can at least get onto the field much easier, not needing a tribute summon, but a special summon as long as you have the water monsters to make use of. And then going more for the ice counters, playing more of that support, running 3 Snowman Creator. When this card is summoned, you can create a number of ice counters equal to the number of water monsters you control. Place them on face-up monsters your opponent controls. Then, if you place 3 or more ice counters by this effect, you can destroy 1 card your opponent controls. So, going off of more like Snowman Eater with this card, where Snowman Eater you have to flip up to destroy a card, this one goes on to help with more of your ice counters that you can then use Ice Master, depending on how many you place in your opponent, to destroy those monsters, along with the additional monster if you have enough water monsters on the field to destroy, thanks to Snowman Creator. It's more of a setup card and another level 4 water monster that basically give you plenty of access to all the different extra deck monsters you run in your extra deck, and not just the Xyz monsters, but plenty of the Link monsters also. And then for another level 4 monster, I run 3 Snow Dragon. When this card is destroyed by battle or by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, place 1 ice counter on each face-up monster on the field. So the fact that it places is on each card, you can set this card on the field, and your opponent will either attack into it, or if they do destroy it with a card effect, you'll still resolve the ice counters, giving you plenty of targets to hit on your opponent's field the more monsters they have. And then as long as you have the monsters to tribute out, even with the setup with Crystal Girl, you can summon out your Ice Master to the field, destroying all those monsters. So the big play there is you have Destruction with Ice Master, and then Lockdown with Blizzard Princess. It all comes down to what play you want to use against your opponent also. But with one more boss monster to rely on for the ice counters, I run 2 Snowdust Dragon. You can special summon this card from your hand by removing 4 ice counters from anywhere on the field. Other monsters with ice counters cannot attack or change their battle position. So this card basically freezes your opponent's monsters and makes them unable to either change their battle position or attack. So pretty good lockdown that you can use, along with Blizzard Princess being able to set up and lock those cards to not be able to activate any spell and traps. So you're freezing the back row with Blizzard Princess and freezing your opponent's monsters with cards like Snowdust Dragon, and then destroying them with cards like Ice Master. It all works very, very well together for the ice play, as long as you can set up those monsters quick enough on the field also. For the last of the monsters in the main deck, just the hand trap of choice being a Spellcaster type monster to give me more tribute access with Blizzard Princess, and that is Effect Failure if you just don't have access to Crystal Girl, or if it's already in your graveyard set up. This can just be another card to summon on the field as a special summon, and then tribute out for your Blizzard Princess, just being the 1 tribute required since it is a Spellcaster type monster. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I'm running 3 Water Hazard. This continuous spell, once per turn, if you control no monsters, you can special summon 1 level 4 lower water monster from your hand. So there are a good number of different water monsters in this deck, including cards like Snowman Creator, which just need to be summoned to create the number of ice counters on the field, and just setting up Snow Dragon for the defensive play, or even just the Cold Enchanter, which needs a discard to set up the ice counter. So none of them have to be normal summon. You can easily special summon all those level 4 monsters, or even, since it's a level 4 or lower, summon out Crystal Girl using Water Hazard. And if you already have the Blizzard Princess in your hand, that could be the 1 tribute needed to summon out Blizzard Princess, just using the Water Hazard and Crystal Girl play, and still being able to, at the end of the turn, use Crystal Girl to search out your other level 8 monster, whether it be your Ice Master, or even some more of your searches for the water targets being Snowdust Dragon. And with another focus being Spellcasters in the deck, I do also run 2 Secret Village of the Spellcaster and the 1 Terraforming. This setup is just more of a lockdown restriction for your opponent, with this card shutting down your opponent's spell and traps. But if you have your Spellcaster on the field, for the next turn, your opponent can't activate spell cards either, since they're locked out with this field spell. So it's just another play that I like to use and rely on in the deck for that kind of playstyle of locking down your opponent, which is a big part of the Ice Princess deck altogether. And then for more draw power, we run pretty good playsets of everything in the deck. So just 2 Pot of Desire. If you banish, 2 of your Blizzard Princess, you still have the option and chance of drawing into a card with Pot of Desires. But you can invest a lot with all the different plays in this deck. So you need that draw power. And just the banish 10 for the draw 2 is definitely worth it in this type of deck, where you can banish multiples of cards and still have plenty of plays to go into. For some of the one-ofs for these spells, I also run 1 Monster Reborn, special summoning back resources, including Crystal Girl back onto the field to reuse, or even Snowman Creator. Also 1 for 1. This just accessing Crystal Girl for your summon is a big part of this card altogether. Also 1 Reasoning to finish off the spell cards with all the different levels in the deck for the summon. You can easily special summon more resources onto the field, which Ice Master is not even restricted for being not able to be special summoned. You can still special summon it with Reasoning if your opponent doesn't call a level 8 and summon it on the field. It's just that you can special summon it from your hand by tributing 2 water monsters. You still have the option of summoning it other ways though, or even for the option of your other cards in the deck like Snowdust Dragon. Same concept with all these different monsters. And then that is it for the spells. We'll now move on to the traps. I run 3 back to the front. More special summon plays. You just need resources on the field to resolve a lot of different plays in this deck. So just being able to summon cards back onto the field, regardless of what they are, can give you the plays you need and use. And being able to recycle Crystal Girl for more and more search power without having to use her own special summon is one play I definitely do like to rely on with back to the front. But for additional setup with the trap, and then also taking care of more of my opponent's resources, I finished off the deck with 3 Paleozoic Dinomischus, being another monster that you can tribute for some of your higher monsters on the field, or just being the fact that it is a water monster while on the field gives you more cards to use for summoning out some of your extra deck monsters. So it's my card of choice. If you want to try some other ones like Infinite Impermanence or Solemn Strike, you can replace them. Just definitely recommend keeping the back to the front in the deck to use for those special summon plays. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 1 Link Karibo. Now this is just in here for the option of using Crystal Girl as an additional target for an extra deck monster if you don't have the tributes to go into just yet with her own card play. I also run the 1 Miss Starboy for the additional water plays you can do with this and Marine Says Coral Anemone, 1 Area, the Water Charmer, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Barricade Board Blocker, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and 1 Borolo Dragon for the rest of the Link monsters. And for the Xyz monsters, I run 1 Abyss Dweller, level 4s being a good majority of the deck, aside from level 8s. So also the 1 Bahamut Shark and the 1 Totally Awesome, along with 1 Tornado Dragon. And we run a good number of level 8s that can be special summoned onto the field quite easily. So 1 Dingirsu and 1 number 38. If you have to rank Xyz into those monsters, these are my best 2 options to go into. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, just summoning out a lot of your monsters can resolve those plays. So being able to discard a monster and summon out Crystal Girl will not only give you your search, but with the fact that you haven't taken your normal summon yet, just the option to tribute out into the Blizzard Princess while still having plenty of other setup in your cards to use. And even just if you didn't have the 1-for-1, activating the Water Hazard play to summon Crystal Girl from your hand, gaining the search, and then being able to tribute out for the Blizzard Princess or any of your other water monsters that you can build up with your ice counters while still being able to have your normal summon onto the field and give you more setup in your graveyard with discarding cards like with Cold Enchanter to give you ice counters on the field, and then you can easily special summon back those monsters onto the field for you to use for some other extra deck plays depending on what you may want to go into. It's more of a lockdown type of deck, but definitely a fun one at that I definitely do recommend if you're a big fan of a good amount of the different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX characters. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Definitely a fun one to take a look at, especially since we just got this card as a random inclusion in the King's Court booster set. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.